As janky as they are, I'm sort of done with walls for now. I'm going to start working on doors. And doors are going to be basically just, uh, it's going to be this little block that you can place that if you click on it and you're close enough, um, it'll open the door. And to sort of, if it was fully polished, you'd get an animation and it would make a sound and you'd have a different cursor when you're hovering over it and you'll only be able to click on it from a certain distance. But for now, I think it doesn't really look like a door if there's not two states. So I'm gonna have um, sort of a closed state and an open state, and also you'll be able to walk through it when it's open and not when it's closed. Um, One thing that's sort of a bit of a conundrum is box 2D is two-dimensional, obviously, and really these doors, if you want it to behave sort of more interestingly, you can imagine like it would actually pivot, sort of pivot away from you. Um, like the joint would be sort of in the background, and the door would be sort of coming towards the camera. And uh, then if you placed an object too close to the door, then you wouldn't be able to open it all the way, and then you'd be able to get partially in the door. But I mean that basically require that the entire or like parts of the game be three-dimensional, and I might be able to fake that later on. But for now, I'm not really going to worry about it. So it's just going to be either open or closed, and maybe you won't be able to open it if there's something in the way, but you won't be able to like partially open it. So this is going to be wooden door, closed. Um, Wooden doors and wooden walls, uh, they're going to look a bit similar because the walls are so bland right now. They're just, you know, a single block. Um, just a solid color. The other thing is that doors, I didn't realize this until just now, doors need to be a bit taller because the player, granted the player is sort of hoisted off the ground at the moment, but in general the player is going to be, um, you know, taller than a single tile. So you need to be able to place two at a time. So that said, the door is pretty much just going to be, it's going to be symmetrical on the, it's going to be the same on the top and bottom. It could be, you could have a different tile on top, and maybe I will have to do that eventually, but for now, baby steps. Okay, so this is 8, and this is 8, and this is 16. What if we made this 8 also? Ah, there we go. Okay, I mean, if we zoom out to 100%, sure, that could be a door. Um, and for open, let's see. You know, I'm actually going to make this a darker color. Actually, it's already the darker color. So this is with the edge of the door facing you, so there's not really, it's not really being illuminated. That's one way of thinking about it. Because the light can't see the edge that's pointing towards the camera. But if we do open and we bring this back up to what it was before, 49. Let's see. So I guess normally there's like a door hinge that in the well, this is gonna look probably pretty bad, but let me just try it for now. I actually wanted to make this part darker because like either it's the edge of the door that's facing you and it's dark, or the door is open and um, you can still see the hinge on the other side. You can see the door frame on the other side. So okay, so I'm now realizing that it wasn't actually the color I thought it was before. I thought this was also the darker brown, but it's actually the lighter brown. Okay. So here's the closed door. Here's the open door. Let's put these at the same zoom. I don't know what that button does. %1000. Let's turn off that. Turn off those pixels. I don't know why these aren't centered, but whatever. So closed, open, closed, open. You'll be able to you'll be able to open the door away from you eventually, and in that case, the door will open in the other direction, obviously. But we don't need a separate image for that. We can just rotate or flip this one. Okay. So these are our two doors, door bits. I don't know what I did there. Okay. So here's our open door, and our closed door is way over there in the corner. Sorry about that. It's always garbage day on this street. So let's see. So for a player controller, no, that's not true. When the player is created, I want to give the player some of this stuff. This door. And I'm going to work backwards from there. So create player, and down here there's inventory. Okay. Give. Well, everything's blocks right now, but it's not actually. I wonder if I should say items. It's not quite the same. I'll give them 3 of those. And wherever we have blocks, I'm going to create items. And for wooden door, it's also the item type, and it has a name. So the visual asset, I'm just going to do what I'm doing everywhere else. And the thing that's sort of weird about this one is it's compound. Like there's two assets. Well, there's 4. There's the bottom part of the door, the top part of the door, and then open and closed. The open and closed might be just sort of a separate thing. But let's call this wooden door. I know it's not a block, but I had something down. I had compound visual, and that might be what I want to do. So block is not really anything special. It's just a Atlas sprite visual. So for wooden door, let's say compound visual. Let's not do that. We just need these two things. It sort of annoys me that IntelliJ always generates these big, complicated getters when all I want to do is set it to a field. So this is in the terrain out list. We know that for sure. And we want a wooden door closed. And this might be a bad idea, but I'm going to try this out for now. So it's like there's not really a good place to say that when you place this thing, also place this adjacent object. So I'll worry about that later, I guess. I mean, soon, but not yet. So it hasn't crashed, so that's nice. Oh, there we go. So it's looking in terrain types. So this is something that I haven't really fixed yet. It's assuming that everything that you can click on is a block. Like I think if you click on even like this, like if you pick up the club and then you switch to something else, then you select the club, it crashes again in the same exact spot. So I need to differentiate between different types of items. I'm going to see if there's anything obvious I can check on here. Okay, I thought it was crashing somewhere else. Oh, this is the quick bar. Alright. Right now the quick bar and the inventory are sort of duplicated. And eventually the quick bar will be its own inventory, but right now it's synchronized to the actual inventory. Well, this thing is being sort of obnoxious. I don't know why, but in Kotlin the breakpoints don't always take. I don't think it's a matter of just not setting it. I think it's just like there's no check mark here. That's frustrating. Part of the reason why I'm using Java or JVM languages so I don't have to do this. Okay. Okay, well, it would also help if I was more consistent with where I was clicking. Okay, so item type is a wooden door. And right now we don't have anything to differentiate. Like, it's in items here, which is sort of helpful, but I don't differentiate between more than that. So that's a block asset, but we can also have block item type, and this can be, no, we don't want it to be, we want it to be a class, I guess. And then down here we can just say block item type. Oh, I already sort of. Oh wait, I just created that. Huh, of course I did. Okay. So that's this is gonna be sort of hacky. Like I said, I feel like I said it a lot. See that a lot, but I don't know. This is the easiest way to handle this right now, I think. Item type. That's confusing. Oh, well. It's an item type of type item. It's a wooden door, and the name is wooden door closed. Just a second. My recording studio is not very quiet, it seems like. Okay. So now, in something you're never supposed to do in programming, you can say if item type is block. Okay, let's leave the whole thing in there. Else if item type is item type. Else row okay. So now to verify, I also need to duplicate my code. This is for the inventory, and there's also the quick bar above it. Here. I could probably at least factor this part out. It's sort of hard to factor the whole thing. It's a bit unwieldy, but I could probably do it. So now if I go down here, I mean the thing that's sort of, I don't know if I should actually be differentiating between blocks and doors. Like, they're both scenery, and they're both placeable items. It's just like, it's not literally a block, it's something you interact with, but I think they're more similar than different, because with a regular item, you either you drink it or you hit stuff with it, whereas with the placeables, they you place them and then they disappear out of your inventory and then they appear in the world. So I think I can generify this. Like, it's something to differentiate between terrain and non-terrain. But I think I'll rename item type to placeable, which is not gonna include blocks, or maybe blocks will be a type of placeable. Okay. So where was I? I was in the inventory. No, I was in the HUD. There we go. Oh, it's not happy that I moved it. There we go. So I have to check for block item type first, because block item type is a subclass of placeable. And if I check it the other way around, just out of curiosity, I wonder if it'll complain. Because it's unreachable down here. Oh, that's too bad. Okay, so I want to do the same sort of thing here, except it's not a terrain type. what does this do anyway? Given an item type, it returns a string. So like if you give it wood, it gives you the wood name. And if you give it wooden wall, it gives you the wooden wall name. Which is sort of goofy because it's already on there. This is really more about unifying this last parameter stuff and the other parameters. Like we already know what the name is. Like we can probably for this one, I might copy this over to the other one, but you can just really just say that. And create detached block. This is what creates that little tiny cube that the player carries when he's placing something. So let's see. This is in block builder, so this is totally the wrong place to do this. But if I call I'm just gonna call it name instead of block name. I also have the size scaled down by a factor of 2. That makes sense for blocks because blocks are huge. Doors are pretty big too, actually. I think I'll leave that here. Then it will inflate when it gets placed. Oh, this scale should probably be the same as that. Well, size. This isn't. I'm gonna leave this actually. These are coincidentally the same. Like size is how many meters wide it is, and then scale is maybe it's not a coincidence. This is always sort of weird. Am I setting? I think I'm setting the wrong. Oh yeah, I got that reversed. You know what? I'm not going to deal with that right now. It's one of those combinations, but I don't want to deal with the breakage. So this is again, this is like a detached placeable. It's not, you'll notice it is the same category as the player and it has a dynamic body. But I also have it set to sensor, so it doesn't actually hit anything because that'd be sort of weird to have your like I might change it later because it's sort of cool to be realistic maybe, but I don't know, I just don't want like your sword to snag on things. Seems silly. Okay, so this is a not, we don't actually want a block component here, but we do still want to know if we don't create this component, like this value of name is effectively lost after you create the item. So I can probably combine these later, or just rename placeable. This is the sort of thing I would forget normally, but I caught it this time. Okay. So this is the look. So this maps from the name to basically a visual look and feel. And I don't really have an analogous one, like because it's just the name that's being passed around. That's sort of a problem, actually. I wonder if I can pass through the item type. I mean, we have types, might as well use them. Like maybe I can just plop this whole thing on there. However, like right now, these item types are codified in code, but there's no reason why these attributes couldn't be constructed some other way. That's probably almost definitely what I'll end up doing. Take that and put it here. Okay, so now the nice thing about this is you can say placeable item type dot visual asset, which is already, if you line this up, like, okay. IntelliJ says not today. Anyway, if you were to line this up, it would be sort of just the same second half of the statement down below. Okay, so now if there was something calling this, it's not going to be working anymore. Okay, so we were never actually calling it, so let's call create detached placeable. We don't want the name, we just want the item type because that's what we have. And because this is Kotlin, even though item type is defined up here to be a item type, because it does a smart cast here, so now at this point item type, it doesn't say it, which is too bad, but item type is actually known to be placeable, so I don't actually have to cast. Okay, well it doesn't say why no cast is needed. Anyway, so there's item equipper here, and it's not a weapon, but it doesn't actually need to be a weapon. So let's see what happens. All I expect to be able to do is switch to it. That's the only thing I'm testing for. Okay. So it looks so ridiculous. It's like this. This little tiny door. I still can't switch to clubs. But that's basically what I want. So now the next thing is to make it so that when you click, that it actually places the door. There's actually a lot of steps to this. When you click, it places the door, and then after that, we want to make it place 2 door pieces. Then after that, you want to make it so that if you click on a door, it toggles between the open and closed state. So the work is cut out for me. Let's see. So the next step is player controller system. And here we want to say, if you have a placeable, then place it. So right here it's very specific to has block component, and I can't really generalize that right now because block component has a string name property and placeable is, strongly typed like it should be. So they aren't quite analogous, but they're fairly similar. Otherwise, if the equipped item has placeable, then whatever, equipped placeable. There we go. Now position equals, really, actually, after this point, it is pretty similar. So I think placeables are, for now, they're always going to be in the foreground. So we don't need to worry about background. Eventually, I guess if you had like a candle or like other sort of little furniture, you could sort of stick that in the background. That might be cool, instead of like on a table in the foreground. So I'm gonna copy try place block to try place placeable, for lack of a better name. Okay, try place placeable. Previously I was passing block name and the type before, and I don't actually need to do that anymore. So I just need to make sure that all these parameters are actually correct. Well, I tried. Okay, okay. So first it checks to see if there's a block already there, and this is gonna be a problem later because it checks to see if there's a block at this point, and we don't want to not be able to place on top of blocks for sure, but we also want to not be able to place on top of other things. And that's actually really what this is about. Is there something else in the foreground? And in fact, this background property here is applies to more than just terrain. Oh, that'll be interesting. So this first section is just creating the thing. This is unequipping it if you're out of that item. And then the rest of this stuff is handling things specific to wooden walls. And it's not, again, this is not good software, but if it's a door, place additional door piece. So we don't want to create a block. We want to, so we have create block and create detached block, and we have create detached placeable. We want to do sort of the same sort of mirror thing. Create placeable, and these two are basically the same except that the size and staticness is different. Well, let's see. So the category, well, like I said, it's only going to be in the foreground for now. So let's make it part of the scenery, which basically means everything collides with it, including light. We want it to be static. We want to change the scale so it's the default setting. That looks about right. Let me scan real quick. So there's friction, various terrain types. Sensor. This is a tough one. Like, well, okay, so for doors, it's not tough. You want to be able to walk into doors. But in general, like when you have like furniture that you can step on top of but not walk through and stuff like that, if you want to jump on top of tables, that's a little trickier. And I'm just gonna worry about doors for now. Okay, so create. So block takes a lot of parameters, but that's because blocks. Actually, we might as well set these here too. I tend to think of blocks as being more permanent, and therefore we want to sort of set them in one place and not worry about updating the position after. But why not just set it right the first time? Okay, so this is in the body declaration. Yeah. Okay. That looks good. Create placeable. That's a. I don't think rotating placeables usually makes sense. Like you're not going to put a table sideways or a candle sideways. It's always upright. So I'm not going to worry about rotation. If you run out of that thing, then yes, you should unequip it. Um, and door, that part should be, getting it to work right will be tricky, but getting this part will be hopefully easier later. Anyway, so now I should be able to place the door. Okay. I mean, it doesn't work yet, but the door is placed, so that's good. Um, so the easy part here is just the thing is we want to take. I guess we only want one door. I guess it shouldn't like take two at a time. That'd be sort of weird if you have three door pieces and you can only uh, you can only place one door. So the second door will be free, let's say. And where do we place it? You just place it one level higher. We also need to make sure that this only checks where you placed it. We also need to, or where you clicked. I also need to make sure that that the space above the spot where you clicked above is also free. So we just make a quick copy of our vector and add 1. That's pretty simple. If they're both free, then proceed. If item type is door, then we also want to create an additional thing in that spot. So now what I'm expecting is to place a door and to get two pieces each time I click. Okay, that looks right. And make sure. Well, I can't test. I don't. The sine wave terrain doesn't let me test. I can't make caves anymore, so I can't make sure I can only. I can't make sure that I have enough space to place this. For some reason. Okay, well that's a bug. Like you're able to place a door overlapping another door. Oh, I know why. This is get block at point. Like I said before, it only checks for blocks. So I should be able to place all three doors on top of each other. Yeah. Yeah, that sucks. So the next thing, I'm not gonna worry about that for now. Next thing I want to do is make it so when you click on a door, it toggles between two states, and this should be pretty. I'm not gonna say easy, but what I've done before is with update wooden wall is it deletes the entity and recreates the one you want, and I'm gonna do that with doors as well because like the only thing that might be a little concerning is it might well if you're standing in the doorway when the door closes it might glitch a little bit, but Box 2D is generally pretty forgiving. It doesn't like shoot you off at Mach 2 off to the corner of the screen. It'll just sort of push you out of the way a little bit. As a demonstration, like if you're here and you imagine when you're standing in a door when you close it, like it just sort of pushes you to the side. And you know, it's the jolt, but then that's what happens when you close the door in your face. Okay, so the next thing is sort of this new concept. Oh, we're already here. If you click on something that is interactive, then it should do something. I'm not really sure how I want to capture that it's interactive or not. Like placeable components or placeable item types are probably going to be interactive most of the time. So let's add an additional method here. I don't know if this is going to work very well. Yeah, I don't think this is going to work. If in order to actually fully interact and like create the other type, then it needs to have all all this data passed into it. And anytime you start passing a lot of data, that means that this should probably be handled in a system somewhere. So let me create a new component, interaction component. Yeah. So what's going to happen is if you click on something that's interactive, so what we can do here is we can add very dumb data. We can say val, open val, interactive equals false. And then in our door, we can override it to true. And so now if you click on something that is interactive, then instead of swinging a weapon or placing a block or whatever, instead it'll add this component. Or I could toggle it, or I could increment a counter. If there's two things trying to interact with it at once, I guess it'll just say, hey, it's already interacting, and just toggle it once. Okay, so actually, that's silly. You should be able to interact with possibly anything. So I'm just gonna move this over and interact it. You can't obviously specify state or method implementations. Not obviously, like you can in Java 8, but you can't in Kotlin yet because they haven't added that, which is too bad. But I think they're working on it. Okay, so now anything that's interactive, I can say interactive true. So now here, oops, come on. So if equipped is not equal to null, then all this stuff happens. And that's not really, like whether you have an equipped item or not is sort of orthogonal to what we're doing here. So what we want to say is, okay, so first we want to see what did you click on. Find interactive entities at clicked on. Because clicked at is shared everywhere, I don't actually need to pass it. I think I can just say find clicked interactive entity. Way down at the bottom. Oh, that's not what I wanted. Okay, there we go. So at the clicked point, I want to cycle through everything at that point and return the first one that's clicked. So I can probably factor this out actually. I'm going to do that for once. I'm going to do the right thing here. So I'm going to factor out as much of this as I can, and just because there's a lot of times when you're trying to find entities that match a certain pattern. In fact, that's the Java 8 way of doing it. I guess here you just say it takes a entity and returns a Boolean. So, and it returns entity if it could find one. Okay. So first we check to see. So first we scan for everything that's roughly in this area, and then we check to see if entity is not equal to null. We try to we see if there's user data associated with that object. Otherwise, there's no way to get the entity from that thing. I'm going to move entity check, entity not null check up here, because it's a really cheap check to see if it's not null or not, versus test point, which calls it the JNI. So if we can just skip all the null entities first, that'd be easier. We don't know what all this chunk is. We're just gonna say in predicate. Okay, and then we assign entity here. I'm not sure if you can just say yeah, this might be a bit fidgety. I mean, this works. And so now we can say return get entity at point, world position, and for our predicate, we say, do we want all this junk here? There we go. That's a lot cleaner. I'm never really sure when to convert it into an expression or not. This seems sort of long. Okay, that seems fine. So anyway, the whole point of all this stuff is now we can say that method I was just working on. Find clicked interactive entity. Okay, so now we can say, oh, I forgot what I called it. Get entity at point, clicked, and we're looking for anything that is interactive. Let's see. Like, I think item type component. I don't know if I should have placeable. This is sort of like you can't really do inheritance very well. So we have item type component and block component, even though blocks are item types. I'm just really going to confuse myself at some point. So placeable is sort of a reasonable facsimile. You know what? I can use try get. Placeable item type is a thing that might also have, if it's a placeable item type, it might also have interactive item type. I need to split that out on multiple lines. Well, if that item type is interactive, what do you want? Oh. Fine. Okay, that was easy. So what this says is if placeable component is true, or is exists, is not null, and then we look up this field off of it, and then if it has, if it can be safely cast to interactive item type, then do so. Otherwise, return null. So now we say, well, now we're basically done. Now we want to say it's not equal to null, and it's interactive. So this will find the first thing that has all of these properties, and if you can't find one, then it just returns null. Okay, close enough. Okay, so now we want to say if interactive entity not equal to null, then do something. Otherwise, try all this other stuff. If interactive entity is not equal to null, okay, so this class is, I mean, I wasn't planning on doing this, but this class is already like 500 lines long. Like, it just, plus it doesn't make sense. Anyway, I could say if interactive entity dot placeable blah 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 is wooden door, then toggle the state of the wooden door. But I'm not going to do that. I'm going to say interactive entity add interaction requested component. And this is stateless, and there's only, you know, it can be a singleton, I think. So I'm going to do that. It's cheaper. Okay, so if you're trying to interact with it, then mark it as please interact with this thing. So now I'm going to create a new system. This guy, and there we go. Lastly, I need to add this guy to the right place. This is not the right place. There we go. So the interaction component gets added by the player controller system. So it should happen sometime after that, unless we want it to happen in the next frame. And it might impact the physics, like if you're changing physics objects. So I think it makes sense to put it in right here. Should be pretty, I mean, it's going to be blazing fast most of the time anyway. Not that it matters where, not that the placement really matters for that. Yeah, whatever. Okay. So now I expect, yeah. I always forget. Okay. So now I expect it not to crash, and when I click on the door, I expect to get a log message, and not placing a second door. Okay. That's not exactly what I meant to happen. Let's fix that. There we go. So you can place doors, and if you try to, it can tell you're trying to do something. Okay. Okay, so right now there's only a wooden door and there's a wooden door open. So unfortunately, I mean, really, like, okay. So what you can do is you can say, like the only way to differentiate right now is based on which visual component is being used. Sort of sucks. There's no state of whether it's actually open or not. So we can say if visual asset is wooden door. I don't know why it auto-completes the things that are impossible. Like this is not not even the right inheritance. Okay, so door is closed. Is open. Else if is, well, I mean, these are objects. They're singletons. I can actually say equal instead of is, which is infinitesimally better. I think the better way. I don't want to recreate the entire entity. I think that's overkill. However, the placeable here, it's pretty tightly coupled to what it looks like. Like item type has a visual asset and all that stuff. So what I guess I can do is I can remove placeable component and add a new placeable component. Not like that though. Yeah, I really need to figure this out. This is the sort of thing that sort of works now, but the more you build stuff like this, the slower additional features get, and pretty soon you can't move because it's like you're in molasses. Every time you try to add something, something breaks, or you have to copy paste a bunch of code. So I really don't want to. I don't want to sort of spend too much time optimizing things that I wrote, but I also don't want to spend. I also don't want to get into that quagmire situation. Wooden wall, wooden door. We want the. No, actually, we don't want a new thing. Oh, yes, we do. Wooden door, and we want the items. Okay, so the item is placeable, therefore this works. We don't want that one, we want the open one. And the same thing over here, except the other order. Okay, so now if we click on a door, it's going to actually be split, which is going to look weird. Oh. Well, or it's going to do nothing. You know how there's some like ranch doors that are sort of like split halfway? Well, that's what I was expecting it to look like. But let's see, it's placeable as present. It's a wooden door. Okay. I think that's what I wanted. I think it's just the wooden door, the open wooden door is wrong or something. Wooden door open, wooden door open. Wooden door actually looks different, right? Okay. Why is this being challenging? Oh. Right. This doesn't actually do anything. When this is originally created, we also add the visual asset component on. That's not the one I wanted. There we go. Maybe? Yeah, okay. I did this one other place, and I could do it again, but I just want to... There we go. We already have this. Okay. There's that. There's that. Need to pull in our assets thing. Okay. Okay. That should work. Hopefully this is actually the same in both cases, because the placeable is just... Oh. That's not going to be the right placeable. Just kidding. Okay. Okay. This time, for realsies, it should look different. Well, I wasn't expecting it to be centered like that. I think that's a texture packer. Glitch. I mean, not a glitch, just a misconfiguration of mine. No, maybe it's this one. If this doesn't work, I'm not going to worry. I'm not going to spend any more time on it because it's not that important. No, okay. Well, so it's, what it's supposed to do is it's supposed to look like this, and when you click on it, it sort of opens up like that. Something else that you'll notice is it's still solid. That's pretty easy. Here I'm just going to say entity.physics.body. So what I want to do is update the fixtures to be sensors. I could also update the filters, but I'm going to do it like this for now. I've tried doing this before, and the big problem is sometimes you have sensors in your original schematic, in your original shape, and this will blow those away. So in general, using sensors for things that just shouldn't collide is not really a good plan, but whatever. We'll fix it at that famed later point. Okay, so now if you walk into it, it's solid. If you open it, you can go through it. That's very goofy. I think it's supposed to I could have you go through it like this. I was planning on having it go the other way. Having player go in front of the door. I don't know. It actually looks a little better that way. Ooh. Stuck on the ground. Okay, well, so that's working. The last thing I'm going to do is make sure it opens both halves of the door. And let's see. I think the way to do that is to sort of have it sort of if you interact with one, it interacts with both. I'm trying to think. So what you could do is instantiate the door with sort of this connection, so a component that points to the other entity. However, then if you toggle one, then it'll sort of automatically toggle the other one, and then you have to sort of keep track of which ones have already been toggled. That's not so bad though. Okay, so the way I'm going to do that now, and then I'll be done, is when you place the door, that happens in the player controller system. So here we're placing the additional door. Create placeable returns the entity. So I'm going to say first equals this thing. This can actually go last. Second equals this thing. And so what we want to do is we want to link these two things together. So if you click on either one of them, then the other one will trigger. So we have interaction component, and this one's going to definitely have state, obviously. So one question is, well, I could have another system that handles the linked interactions and adds all the interaction components. I might do that, but it'd be nice if I could do it here. But basically, in in the iteration of one of these elements, you'll add interaction, like while you're iterating over interaction requested component entities, you might update another entity to have the same thing. And it seems like a bad idea. Yeah, you iterate over the size, but the size changes. And that seems like a bad idea. It might work, but I don't want to rely on it. So I'm going to create a new system called linked interaction system. Oh, don't need that guy. And this will iterate over everything that has two things. If the interaction has been requested, and it's a linked interaction component. Okay. Now that I think about this. If probably shouldn't be a single other thing, but whatever. For now it is. It could be like a list of things or an array of things. Okay, so we actually don't care about interaction requested. We really sort of care about the link. We know it has it because it's in the filter. And so here we just want to say add other add interaction requested. And the reason why this is okay is if you look at add internal, it checks to see if the component is identical to the old component. When you're trying to basically if the component was actually not modified, if it already had this thing, then it doesn't do anything. If it's identical, it doesn't do anything. If it's the same type, then it'll remove it and then add the new one, so it sort of replaces. But because this is a singleton here, it's actually it's an object. It actually does what we want. If it wasn't a singleton, then we'd have to say we want to check first to see if it had the property or not, the component. So anyway, so we want this guy, and this one also has a very specific place to go. We want it to run immediately before interaction system, because this is gonna add additional fields the interaction system might be iterating over. Okay, so how this works, if you want something to trigger something else, then you add linked interaction, and then it just sort of automatically adds the interaction requested if this one also is interaction requested. So that should just work. So now I expect when I click on the door, both halves to open. Hey, that was actually slightly easier than I was expecting. So hurry for that. Then you click on the door. Well, eventually you get it set off to the right place. Something else interesting is the door looks like it's casting a shadow. I think that's because even sensors can cast shadows. The lighting system doesn't differentiate based on sensor, differentiates based on which category bits you have set. So anyway, so that's another reason not to use sensors for this. But yeah, this was fun. It's the door is barely functional, and it's for now that's my bar. So